like I said, we do. I mean, we don't even have to use it. We can definitely, I can put it down and turn it off. Yeah. Unless you think, afterwards you just touch it a couple times.
Yeah. Good morning to all of our wonderful people. We are here live and direct in person here at the MooreMotivation podcast. I am the co-host, Troy Christopher Moore. We're here with the founder and the president, Mr. Kendrick Moore. Good morning, Kendrick. How you doing this morning?
Man, I'm great, Troy, man. Glad to have you back in town. And listen, I know you've been traveling all over the place. We were just talking about the travel fatigue you got, man. But it's always great to have you in town and being able to do these things, man. And I got my boy Cody with a K back here. Some people were commenting on Cody with a K. He said, "Man, listen, I'm up. I'm gonna go down there with y'all again."
Awesome, man. So we get to do this, and man, this is just. I know it's something that we want to give out to the people, man, but this is just something where I know internally for myself, learning a lot.
Yeah, right.
From a different aspect in what we bring to the table.
Mm-hmm.
So before we get into this week, we usually have a shout out.
Yeah.
Something that we want to just put out there for people in the community, the great work that they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So what we got for a shout out for this week?
Yeah. So, this shout out, Troy, is actually it ties right into our podcast for today. And I want to shout out the parents and players and families of our, the entire Connecticut Elite Basketball organization. But I get a chance I'm the director of Hartford County, so I get a chance to coach the 7th grade team.
Okay.
But, the parents organized a function at one of the parents' houses, just a couple weeks ago. And they honored me with this plaque, man, just for coaching their kids and really creating an environment to get them to compete with every kid in the country and just establish some standards. So I want to shout them out, man, because,
amazing.
Because it's a two-way street,
yeah.
Because this coaching thing isn't easy. I don't sugarcoat things. I don't lower standards.
Right.
And a lot of times it could rub people the wrong way. But when you got supportive people on the opposite end as well, and we both understand, like, I love these kids just as much as you do, and it's for the benefit of the kids, it was just a great time, man. So I want to shout them out for sure.
Awesome. And just to piggyback off of that, like you said, it's a two-way street.
Yep.
So with these parents and supporting their kids, like you said, the coaching is not easy. For them to come together and say, we didn't win the championship.
Right.
But our kids are different because of the coach.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I know you wanted to shout them out, and you should.
Right.
But also, man, we got to give you some kudos because that is something that we don't see a lot, especially in this era of AAU, teenager and young people. So for them to come together and say, look, this coach has put an impact on our kids. Let's put something together and get them a plaque.
Right.
We shout out the parents, but we shout you out as well.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Yes, for sure.
Phenomenal.
For sure.
Phenomenal.
I appreciate it.
Phenomenal. So now we're going to get into just some feedback that we got from last week's podcast. Man, we got some great feedback like we always do. So talk to us about some of the feedback we received.
Yeah, listen. They're hitting home, Troy, I must say.
Yeah.
Like the topics are hitting home, and what I'm finding more is we're getting a lot of, and I know you tell me, Troy, that you talk to a lot of people that I don't even know. Like people converse with you on their own a lot.
Right.
And then every now and then you'll open up like with some of the more impactful comments and responses.
Yeah.
But like, I think people are just really tying it, buying in more to the overall messages of the podcast and making a connection with them all in terms of overall personal development.
Yeah.
That's the biggest part with me, because as we say, consistency.
Right.
So now people are kind of being consistent. Okay, this is what this is about. And so when I hear people talk about it now, Troy, it's more in totality other than just the individual podcast.
Right.
So when we talk about like impact, what we were just talking about a second ago, it's like this overall thing where people are really finding a groove with listening to the podcast. So, you know, we love doing it, and we love doing it for the people. But hearing their feedback, it's encouraging us, and it gives us even more motivation to make sure we do what we do.
Yes, it does, man.
Yep.
Awesome, awesome. To our listeners, continue to send that feedback,
Yes.
man. We love to hear from you. And we also build other podcasts off of some of the feedback that we receive. So definitely keep that coming. Definitely keep it coming.
Yep.
So now, super excited, man. Let's get into this week's content. What's a powerful word that you have for us on the topic for this week?
Yes, it's Connecticut elite. You know, this elite status that not only that I'm proud of it, that Connecticut has, but where we can really take this thing if we work together. So that's the title of it, Connecticut elite. But I'm proud of Connecticut, and it's about really, let's all take this thing to another level.
Man, that's awesome. Awesome, man. So all those, I know we send this podcast literally across the country.
Right.
But today we're going to talk about Connecticut elite. So let's get right into it. What you got for us?
Yeah, and I want everybody listening to it, even if they're from a different state, when you understand in this message, it's being proud of where you're from.
Right.
Being proud of the things that you have in hand in your state and using those resources correctly to get to where you want to go. We got to always think big picture.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned, I'm proud being from Connecticut, and that title, Connecticut Elite, it's like a play on words, meaning, as we talked about, I am the director of the Harford County for Connecticut Elite, which is an AAU program here. You know, in AAU programs, they all have, you know, people see them in different ways, but I know with our area in Newington, like, we do the best we can for our customer, which is our families. And we have Troy, I'm being honest with you. We have some of the best coaches. You know, Coach Willis, Bunch, Beelan, Veal, you know, Cardona, Sylvan. Like, we got some of the best coaches coming out of that area in different age groups.
That's
you know, because we don't have the elite, you know, we don't have the national level teams at our branch. You know, we have more of the regional teams. So it's really about the development.
Yeah.
So our coach is doing excellent job of developing, Troy. Excellent job of really preparing our kids from that teaching standpoint.
That's awesome.
So again, I had the 7th grade team, which we just spoke on a little bit. So that Connecticut elite, like, man, what does that title really mean? And I look at it again, not just from a basketball standpoint. I get a chance to work with kids in numerous areas. So in that same approach, high standards, the teaching and developing, not just about the specific area of content that I may be working with them, but the holistic development of the kid at all times.
Yeah.
So I always think big picture. And when I'm talking to the coaches, those are type messages that we want to make sure we're delivering to the kids. Big picture. So no matter where they go, they feel prepared.
Gotcha.
No matter what area they decide to venture into, we want to take these lessons learned out into the real world and be prepared. So like I said, this Connecticut elite thing, man, it's a real, I'm proud being from Connecticut. I love when I'm, you know, we mentioned it plenty of times, being from Connecticut, 3rd smallest state, you go somewhere, people remember you know, not even New York State, but New York City more than they know New York State, or nor than they know Connecticut.
Right.
You from the East Coast? Oh, we only know New York. Yeah, but I'm from Connecticut.
Right.
I'm okay being from Connecticut. I'm not going. I don't got to lie and say I'm from New York because that's the most popular name you know.
Right.
And so when I go there, I'm intentional about representing. You know, representing the state. And I want all of our kids and families and everybody to know that when you utilize the resources properly, our kids have some grand opportunities.
I want to take a turn here because you said something that was interesting about you guys have some of the best coaches, right? And what is also key, and we know this market of AAU, right? What is also key is what you said is how you guys help prepare these young people for life.
That's right.
not just, man, you're going to get to the league. You know what I mean? Because obviously we want the kids to get to the league, but realistically, it's like a 1% chance, sometimes less than 1%. Talk to us about how you all as the coaches work together to ensure that to get the best out of these young people. Talk to us about that.
Yep. So it's really, Troy, about when you talk about the communication, but standards.
Yeah.
You know, as I mentioned, from day one, you know how many kids and families, again, I can't coach every age group, you know, but I set the tone from day one of even just the evaluations, letting the families and kids know, like, this is what to expect when you come here. So we set the standards from day one, and our coaches know we have to maintain that. Now, is it going to be difficult? Yes. We all don't have the same coaching styles, but we understand how to hold kids to high standards. And as long as our communication is effective with the families and other people involved, you know, and we're being direct and we're not trying to change those messages throughout, we're fine. But effective communication is really key when it comes to holding not just our team, but our branch, that Newington branch, to a high standard. But that's what, again, we transfer that to every other facet too, with all of the other teams and different people that I work with. When we talk about where I'm at with CAS IAC, for instance, on the CAS side, when we're asking kids, I'm reaching out to kids, I'm reaching out to different programs to invite their kids to different programs that we offer. You know, we want to create opportunities for our kids. And this is a message to any families that might be listening now. Like we're involved, I'm involved with so many different areas to build the brand of our kids each day, to help them, assist them with building their resume to go compete with any kid in the country. Right? So if they have questions, I want them to reach out directly. You know, we got kids taking trips next month. We're actually going in July, actually in a couple weeks. We're going to, we'll be going to Indianapolis for one of our national conferences, where we're bringing a couple, still like 2 or 3 students from our board. We got one of our students we got on our national board, leadership board, who is trying to, her top school right now, she's a junior, going to be a senior. Her top school is Yale. We're hoping some opportunities like this help push the needle to get her into Yale, you know, because they're going to look at things outside of academics. You know, so that standard thing is so important. You know, being able to create opportunities for our kids. And we have the platforms for our kids. And here's the deal. When we talk about Connecticut Elite, I offered some of those. I reached out to certain parents in our program, the basketball program, and some of the parents sent their kids. They're on some of our advisory boards at CAS. Some of our leadership boards, because that's what it's all about: continuous preparation, continuous learning, which is what we talked about before, for our kids to be put in a position to have great opportunities. But it starts with a team effort. A team effort. And I'm a part of some really good teams in the basketball area and beyond.
Now, this is just, this just might be a yes/no question, but I'm just curious, because I want our listeners to really kind of understand we're not just honing in on basketball. Right. So does the Connecticut Elite, is basketball the only sport that's in Connecticut Elite?
Right. So for Connecticut Elite, that's a AAU program for basketball.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So now with that, I'm also curious because, again, I hear some of the stories about AAU, and it's a young lady I work with. Her son plays AAU, and it's almost like she never has nothing really good to say about AAU.
Right.
What makes Connecticut Elite so different than a lot of these other AAU programs out there?
Now, one of the things I think I want to say, I'm not 100% certain, but I'm close, that it's one of the longest standing AAU programs in the state. As far as probably over a few decades, Connecticut Elite, way before I even became a part of it.
Yeah, okay.
And I was asked to be a part of and be the director of the Harford County branch, because we have hubs pretty much throughout the state, in different parts of the state. And, you know, so a big part of the conversations, I wanted to know what was everybody else doing as I became a part of it. But I knew my experience, my morals, my communication, my reputation.
Right.
I knew how to create a very impactful program holistically.
Right.
And I knew what that was supposed to look like. Like, I don't want to, like, getting up to bat, Troy, in these situations when it comes to working with people, especially in the basketball and the development field for young people, I'm batting a high percentage, you know, like with being direct and honest with people, but also getting results.
That's it.
With getting results.
The results, yeah.
You know, because I've done this for so long. You know, in many different, I've coached collegiately, I've coached in high school, I've coached, you know, professionally. I coached the Hartford Lightning team, which was a semi-professional team. Like, so I've coached from young people to adults, and I've been able to get results on all levels. You know, being able to communicate, being able to really have the innate ability to reach people, right? And reach them. It's one thing to tell people something, but those words come across a certain way where you're impacted. So that's one of the things that's been the biggest difference, you know, with our area, is really creating that standard. You know, so when people think about it, again, a lot of people gonna value AAU on wins and losses. Yes, we did not win a championship, as you mentioned even before. Our team did.
Right.
You know, but did our kids get better? Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I just sent them all like some summer workouts last week, you know, great rapport with the parents and everything. And are there going to be some horror stories with AAU? Definitely.
Yeah.
Why? Because the whole landscape has changed. Troy, we talk about from when I played, it was just like one real team around Connecticut Select who I played for, and they chose you to play. Now it's a business model.
Yeah.
You know, and so now when you're spending money, who knows what the expectations look like from the person spending?
Correct.
You know, so right away, there's going to be conflict.
Yeah.
If you're not comfortable or don't have the correct knowledge and understanding of what to expect from it.
Yeah.
You know, so those conversations can go on all day, which sometimes they happen, but we just got to try to be honest and direct about what we're doing, especially at our branch, which I have, you know, a little more direct control of. And then especially with my team that I'm obviously fully hands-on with, to create an impactful long-term experience.
We're gonna get ready to close out, but you know, the proof is in the pudding, like you said. The results, results don't lie. You know what I mean? I think we have come so, and of course everybody wants to win, but we've come so dominating in wins and losses, that we forget about the impact of these kids when they leave us.
That's right.
Right. So talk to us about how the Connecticut Elite, your program you direct, how you have a long-term plan in place and not just you with me for the summer type of thing. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, man. And as you mentioned, that's with Connecticut Elite, not just the AAU part, but that's with Connecticut being elite. That's what me having this vision that I want each kid from Connecticut to be elite. And when you talk about elite reaching a standard like that, that's something long term.
Right.
You're not going to have immediate results. You got to be able to stick with it. So it's always about planning. With all of my mentees that I work with, even outside of basketball, Connecticut Elite, I want them to be elite. It's about preparing them for wherever they go. It's a plan you put in place, but this is where that buy-in is so important. And not just buying in when you buy in. You got some kids that are very resistant for years, and they don't really get the fruits of their labor when they're supposed to because they didn't have the immediate buy-in. I got mentees that have immediately bought in, understood the process, saw the vision, and they have taken off. They have taken off. Troy, we got kids whose lives I've been a part of, that my man Ethan at Notre Dame, our girl Kruti on our platform at USC. You got kids I was talking to Z Breezy, who was one of our first HLM scholarship winners. Zakiya Gillis. She's at North Carolina A&T, but she's doing a doggone internship with Ally Bank. She sent me a picture with a NASCAR. Like she's in Charlotte. She was in Charlotte. She said, yeah, she's doing an internship in Charlotte, Troy. In your home. Like, so our kids are everywhere.
Wow, that's
doing some amazing things.
Yeah.
Even in the basketball field. Just this past year, and people always asking me all about basketball. I've been fortunate. I know coaches all across the country, men's and women.
Yeah.
So being able to even help create opportunities for our basketball players. My man Ryan, he played for Connecticut Elite. He's at Northern Kentucky. He comes to train with me. My guy Preston at James Madison, along with Eli. Like, we got guys everywhere.
Yeah.
Guys with, again, Division III programs. My man Cam at UMass, but like everywhere. And these are Connecticut kids.
Yeah.
And they will tell you, if you call any of them, if they're in the sport or not, that it's always a holistic approach. It's always about the betterment of them as young men and women. No matter what.
Right.
And that's the most important part to understand when we're talking about this. Because any kid that comes to us, we're going to shoot for the stars. We're going to shoot for the stars and see where we land. I just asked them to be patient. I just asked them to do the work. Because if you tell me you want this, I'm going to put something together for you. I'm going to find out if you really want it.
Right.
And I always say this, it's not 100% bulletproof, but the results speak for itself.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
The results speak for itself. And we're batting almost 1,000 when it comes to those kids that have immediate buy-in.
Yeah.
So, man, listen, it's been a blessing, Troy. And again, this is for all of the parents and kids watching. I'm hoping they reach out to us about this.
Yeah.
Because we got a million opportunities to help our kids, even other programs.
Right.
Let's work together, put the resources together. So I want all of our kids to have an opportunity to compete with every kid in the country. So lock in.
Man, listeners, you have heard it here. Man, MooreMotivation. We're doing some great things. There's some magnificent people from the state of Connecticut.
Yes.
You better believe that. So to all of our listeners, and listen, we don't want to neglect and take away from any other people outside of Connecticut, but we just want the people of Connecticut know, listen, man, some great things are happening here in this state. So make sure that you share this with all of your friends. This particular podcast. Check us out on Spotify, Podbean, the Moore Basketball website. Once again, have a fabulous week and tune in to this week's MooreMotivation podcast. Take care, everyone. Have a great week.
I just want to thank my son, Kenrick Moore, for dedicating his life to helping our youth. I know it's a tough task, but keep up the good work with Moore Basketball Clinic. I'm proud of the man you have become. I love you.